Now, given the warm reception that we've gained through the first Dark Academia video, we're going to do another one today. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things of all time. One of my favorite things of all time. Actually, two things that I really, really, really love besides reading. You know, reading is like a given. Reading is the first ticket into the door. But besides reading, I have a lot of other crazy hobbies, which I'm going to gradually show off because 2020 is the year of honesty. Today we're going to talk about fountain pens, and this subject should excite you a lot if you're a Dark Academia nerd. If you are into the aesthetics, there's something about writing with a fountain pen that I'm going to show you today of how exactly to fall in love with a fountain pen. I don't own a pen company, nor had any companies reached out to me to, force me to make this video. This is out of my genuine love for fountain pens, and here I'm going to give you some tips on how you can begin to get used to your own fountain pen, how you can use a fountain pen as your own daily driver to help you become a better dark academician. Is that a word? First of all, some of my personal thoughts on fountain pen, and I can talk hours on end about fountain pens. They are just so much nicer to write with, hands down. So why don't you just buy a batch of ballpoint pen and be done with it? Well, if you consider the maths, if you pick up an entry model, for example, a Parker's are really good. For around $30 to $40, you can get yourself a really good entry-level fountain pen. And then all you have to do is to buy ink periodically, and then that pen is going to last you for a very long time. My thing is, if you want to buy something well, buy it as a one-off purchase and then use it for a very long time. You'd be surprised how long a $40 fountain pen can last you, and you'd be surprised how much more pleasure you can derive out of writing. My first ever introduction to fountain pen was a fountain pen from my grandfather, which he recently passed away, and Grandma basically gave me his fountain pen about 3 years ago, and from that moment I knew that the fountain pen is going to be a big part of whatever this is. Grandpa's fountain pen was getting a little old, and some of the ink systems and some of the ink clods in there just weren't exactly working out for me. So my first proper introduction to fountain pens was a Pilot fountain pen that I just picked up at a local stationery shop. This one lasted me for a good 6 months. It's just so goddamn reliable that I write basically everything with it. The only problem with this one is just the size of the ink capsule. It's simply too small that it wouldn't even last me a day. So that's why I eventually switched to a Parker. This one would cost you around $40. And this thing was my main driver for a very long time through 2 years of secondary school, 11th grade and 12th grade. This sucker right here helped me through history exams, English exams, and basically any exams that require a lot of writing. The ink capsule on this thing is just amazing. One filling of the ink could last me about 3 to 4 days, which is something definitely that you want to look out for as you go out there and you get your own fountain pen. You have to be able to rely on it in the long term, not just pull out a fountain pen and whoops, there's no more ink left. And right around the edge of my 18th birthday, I got this one, which is my favorite pen of all time. So this is actually a Montblanc Meisterstock fountain pen, which is just my precious pen. Just sitting at home if I want to practice calligraphy, if I want to practice my own handwriting. This is my beast. This is the thing that I go to. Whereas if I'm on campus, if I want something less expensive to work with, I have this Lamy. It's so damn smooth. Got this from the university stationery shop. Different pens have different, I like to call it personalities. Some pens are scratchier than others. Some pens are smoother than others. Some pens have this sort of like, flexy nib. Some other pens don't. So the first tip for fountain pen lovers is that you have to find your own writing companion that you're happy to write with. Go to a place where you can try out a bunch of pens and then see which one suits you the best. My personal favorite right now, besides the Montblanc, is the Parker fountain pen. It's got a really good ink capacity and it writes like a champ. My secondary choice would probably be this Lamy, but this Lamy, the strokes are just a little too thick for my taste, and sometimes I find it really hard to control how smooth this thing is. Once you've found your pen of choice, your weapon of choice, your companion of choice, the second step is to get to know the pen a little better. So I would recommend that you start a journal. Journaling is one of the most meditative experiences ever, and if you haven't started a journal, 2020 is the year to start your sort of dark academia journal. So all of my journals came from paper blanks, and paper blanks just have these beautifully crafted notebooks. So both of these are from paper blanks. This is a Nikola Tesla edition of a just fantastically crafted notebook. The paper quality in these things is insane. And this one is a smaller version of this one, which I actually filled up. So I have big ones, I have small ones, and they're just all lying around the house for me to journal. I'm a big believer that if you journal every single day, your writing is going to get better. Not just the handwriting, but the quality of how you articulate your thoughts is just going to get so much better. It's going to improve your essay writing. It's going to improve how you articulate yourself in conversations. Journaling is one of the best things that you can do if you want to become more articulate, so to speak. And also journaling is just very helpful for you to practice your own handwriting. And speaking of handwriting, I'm going to give you a few tips on how to improve your handwriting and how to get yourself into that sort of the groove of writing beautifully on a beautiful notebook. First, I recommend that you go get an alphabet. So whatever alphabet that suits your fancy, go online and try to find an alphabet that really suits your taste. I found my own alphabet about 5 years ago, and I've been practicing a lot. Practice my handwriting every single damn day for the past 5 years, and right now I think I'm at a pretty good place. And there's another funny thing that's going to happen with your handwriting practice, is that over time, you are going to introduce your own spin into your handwriting. So you wouldn't just blindly copy down a manuscript from some alphabet that you found on the internet. You would just automatically put your own little spins in your handwriting. So you can end up maybe a year or two later with a really neat script, but it's still going to have your own personal flair in it. It's sort of like finding your own writer's voice, but this time you're doing it with your writing, with your handwriting. That's a beautiful concept. So I would encourage you to practice handwriting. It's very relaxing. It's very therapeutic. I'm a pretty bad meditator, so sometimes if I want something to calm me down, practicing handwriting is my way of relieving stress. And the last thing here is very important. You have to practice on a daily basis. This goes for everything out there. If you want to become a writer, you practice on a daily basis. If you want to get better at handwriting, you practice on a daily basis. If you want to get better at using a fountain pen, practice on a daily basis. Using a fountain pen, it's not going to be intuitive. The first few weeks that you use it, it's going to be a little awkward. You're not exactly going to know what to do. There's a bit of a learning curve, but there is going to be that one day where you sit down and you write with this pen, and all of a sudden you feel like you know the pen now. You know how the pen works now, and then stuff would just flow. And maybe 1 to 2 years down the track, you might want to get a new pen. But then you look back and you begin to realize, I'm saving so much plastic. I'm saving so much resources because I've invested in a really good pen. And the pen would probably cost you around $50 to $70 for your first fountain pen. But let me assure you that if you find the one that fits, you won't want to let it go. You really get to truly own the pen. Let it become a part of who you are. And that's why I think the writing experience in itself, it's so much better with a good fountain pen and with your own customized handwriting. So those are some of my thoughts on fountain pens. I hope you guys enjoyed that little dark academia spin. More of these videos are going to come because there's just a lot of stuff that I want to talk about with regards to this. Not just the aesthetics, but just using the aesthetics as a bait to getting to some more interesting things, like appreciating classical music. For example, reading the play by Shakespeare. How can we properly engage with culture? How can we turn ourselves into better individuals in the 21st century when we're very morally distracted? So I'll see you guys in the next video, and let's hope this thing works out.